You just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What if I told you that Nate Diaz's journey, a winding path from the rough streets of Stockton to the zenith of the UFC, is a roller coaster ride marked by unyielding resilience and unapologetic rebellion? Today we'll dive into the untold story of Nate Diaz, the ultimate maverick of the UFC. To understand the roots of his indomitable spirit, this video will show who the man is beyond the spotlight, beyond the octagon, and unravel the enigmatic persona that is Nate Diaz as we traverse his early life, rife with challenges and adversity. To understand the roots of his indomitable spirit, stick around until the end because we'll unveil the pivotal moments that have sculpted Nate Diaz into the captivating figure he is today. This story tells his ascent to stardom, illuminating the moments that transformed him from a rising fighter to a cultural icon. Whether you're a devoted MMA enthusiast or simply curious about this larger-than-life personality, this is a narrative you won't want to overlook. In the heart of Stockton, California, where dreams ignite like wildfire, a young boy named Nate Diaz was born into a family as diverse as the Golden State itself. His mother, Melissa, whose maiden name was Womble, brought her unique Anglo heritage into the mix, while his father, Robert Diaz, proudly carried the torch of Mexican lineage. Together, they laid the foundation for a story that would resonate with fight fans worldwide. Nate shared his childhood home with his brother, the now legendary Nick Diaz. Nate's journey began at Tokay High School, where his grit and determination were already evident. However, it was at the tender age of 11 that he took his first steps toward greatness, guided by none other than his older brother, Nick. Together, they embarked on a martial arts odyssey that would take them from local dojos to the grandest stages of combat sports. In 2000, Cesar Gracie's Jiu-Jitsu school in Pleasant Hill was a place full of determined students. They came from different Gracie schools nearby, and all had the same dream, to become top mixed martial artists. Among them was Jake Shields, who had embarked on his jiu-jitsu journey with Gracie a few years prior to the arrival of the Diaz brothers. It was a time when the cage fighting scene in the U.S. was emerging from the shadows, a sport once nearly killed by political prohibition. In this crucible of ambition, the paths of Jake Shields and the Diaz brothers converged. With his sights set on capturing a prestigious MMA title, Shields found a kindred spirit in Nick, who shared a similar vision for the sport. Both were resolute and focused, determined to make their mark. At the age of 22, Shields crossed paths with a young Nate Diaz. The bond was forged through the world of wrestling at San Francisco State University, where Shields had befriended another grappling talent, 18-year-old Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert, searching for camaraderie and mentorship, decided to join the Cesar Gracie camp, creating a friendship that would play a crucial role in the Diaz brothers' journey. Around this time, Nick Diaz decided to bring his 15-year-old brother Nate into the same school. Nick had been nurturing Nate for this moment, their home even featuring a room converted into a mat space where they could grapple and spar at will. The lanky teenager, a high school sophomore, was ready to heed his older brother's call. Nate Diaz wasted no time, eagerly stepping into the fray against anyone willing to challenge him. When seasoned pros arrived looking for a fight, the team unleashed Nate upon them without hesitation. "He was a soldier," remarked Melendez, reminiscing about those days. Nate was relentless, his hunger for success palpable. The Diaz brothers, known for their controversial swagger and unapologetic confidence, were a force to be reckoned with when they got into MMA's brutal world. When it comes to defining Nate Diaz, there's one unmistakable identity that reigns supreme: Stockton. It's more than just a place of origin, it's a part of his essence. You see, his Twitter handle isn't just at Nate Diaz, it's at Nate Diaz 209. That 209 is a nod to Stockton's area code, a digital badge of honor that Diaz proudly wears, and he seizes every opportunity to pay homage to his roots. But Nate's connection to Stockton goes far beyond social media handles. Alongside his brother, the legendary Nick Diaz, Nate has elevated Stockton to a level of recognition that transcends its modest population of 311,000 in California's Central Valley. They've etched their names into the city's history, putting Stockton firmly on the map. For Stockton, the Diaz brothers are more than just fighters. They're beacons of hope, symbols of resilience, and a source of immense pride. Through their grit, determination, and unyielding spirit, Nate and Nick Diaz have made Stockton a name that resonates in the MMA world and far beyond. But beneath the bravado lay an undeniable truth. They were nothing short of exceptional, making a compelling case as the premier brotherly duo not just in the UFC, but on a global scale. Nate and Nick Diaz had a unique connection in the world of fighting. They weren't the super-strong athletes who would amaze you with their physical abilities. No, the Diaz brothers possessed a unique skill set, a blend of cocky intelligence and brash precision that set them apart from the rest. Their secret weapon?
So Beaver walks up right now, you say what to him?
Smack.
A relentless commitment to a systematic deconstruction of their opponents. The Diaz brothers, masters of unorthodox fighting styles, also introduced the Stockton slap, a move that defies convention but delivers devastating results. But what exactly is the Stockton slap? It's a deceptively simple yet lethal maneuver, a slap that the Diaz brothers have wielded with surgical precision. Born and bred in Stockton, California, they proudly named this technique after their hometown, branding it as their own. In a sport where hair pulling, crotch hits, and soccer kicks are banned, the Stockton slap remains a legal and formidable weapon. Nate Diaz uses it in his own ways to toy with his opponent's psyche, a mind game that few can withstand. From legends like Carlos Condit to the notorious Conor McGregor, and the relentless Michael Johnson, the elite of MMA, have all tasted the sting of Nate Diaz's Stockton slap.
My brother started with Jen, so it'd be awesome to be on his team.
The Ultimate Fighter Finale 5 was Diaz's most memorable moment in his career. It set him on course for greatness at a very young age. In the preliminary round, he faced off against the formidable Rob Emerson, but Diaz, a maestro in the art of combat, summoned his inner beast and pulled off a jaw-dropping submission, sending shockwaves through the arena. The quarterfinals? Now that was a showdown for the ages. Diaz squared up against none other than his own Team Pulver compatriot Corey Hill. Two warriors, brothers in arms, pitted against each other. The anticipation was unbearable, and then, in the blink of an eye, Diaz executed a breath-stealing triangle choke submission. The crowd erupted as he claimed victory in the very first round. Talk about drama, but the roller coaster ride didn't stop there. In the semifinals, Diaz locked horns with the indomitable Gray Maynard from Team Penn. The octagon became a battleground, a canvas for Diaz to paint his masterpiece. With unparalleled skill and sheer grit, Diaz forced yet another submission, leaving the crowd in disbelief. He was one step closer to his dream. The ultimate showdown awaited him in the competition's final, where he clashed with Manny Gamburian for the coveted top prize. The stage was set, and anticipation hung heavy in the air. In the opening moments of the second round, the unexpected unfolded. In a desperate attempt to take Diaz down, Gamburian suffered a dislocated shoulder, a cruel twist of fate that forced him to tap out of the fight. With that monumental victory, Nate Diaz claimed the Ultimate Fighter and secured a life-changing six-figure UFC contract. This was the genesis, the first step on his extraordinary journey to becoming a UFC icon. It was a moment that defined Diaz's destiny, a triumph etched in the annals of MMA history. The path to greatness had begun, and Nate Diaz was poised to leave an indelible mark on the sport that would resonate for generations to come. In the blazing summer of 2008, Diaz was a force to be reckoned with in the UFC lightweight division. He'd already shown his prowess by submitting Alvin Robinson and Junior Asunción. But Diaz was hungry for more, yearning to prove himself against the best of the best. And so the stage was set for a showdown of epic proportions at UFC Fight Night 13. Diaz's opponent, the formidable Kurt Pellegrino. The anticipation was electric, and Diaz, with a fierce glint in his eye, delivered a performance that would be etched in MMA history. He unleashed a triangle choke submission in the second round, leaving Pellegrino gasping for air. But here's the twist. Diaz, ever the showman, took a moment to flex for the crowd and threw up double middle fingers before Pellegrino was forced to submit. A jaw-dropping display of confidence and bravado sent shockwaves through the arena. But Diaz wasn't content with just one victory. His next challenge was none other than the veteran warrior, Josh Neer, at UFC Fight Night 15. The main event spotlight was on Diaz, who thrived under its glare. The battle raged on, and Diaz showcased his versatility by earning a hard-fought split decision victory against the gritty Mir. It was UFC 94 St. Pierre versus Penn 2, and Diaz was set to face the former Strikeforce lightweight champion Clay Guida. The stakes were high and the spotlight was blinding. Guida, a wrestling powerhouse, used his takedowns to control Diaz throughout the fight. Ultimately, the judges delivered a verdict that divided fans. Guida won via split decision. It was a bitter pill to swallow for Diaz, his first taste of defeat in the UFC, and it all played out on the pay-per-view stage. The journey continued at the Ultimate Fighter 9 finale, where Diaz locked horns with another Ultimate Fighter winner and former King of the Cage welterweight champion, Joe Stevenson. But this time, Diaz found himself on the wrong end of Stevenson's takedowns, leading to a unanimous decision loss. It was a tough chapter in Diaz's career, a period of introspection and learning. However, the Stockton Warrior was not one to back down. After 2 consecutive losses by decision, Diaz was set to headline UFC Fight Night 19 against the formidable Melvin Guillard. The fight was a roller coaster, but Diaz's submission prowess came to the forefront as he secured a guillotine choke victory in the second round. Redemption was sweet. In 2010, Diaz's journey took another twist as he faced Gray Maynard, seeking to avenge a prior defeat. The two warriors collided in the main event at UFC Fight Night 20. The result was a controversial split decision loss for Diaz, a decision that sparked debate among fans and analysts. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but Diaz remained undeterred. With 3 losses in 4 fights, Diaz contemplated a change, a move up in weight to the 170 pounds. Division. The weight cut was taking its toll, and Diaz declared, "I don't make enough money to have to drop this much weight." His welterweight debut at UFC 111 against Rory Markham was a statement. Diaz, weighing in at the welterweight limit, showcased his striking prowess by winning via TKO in the first round. It was a glimpse of his potential in the new weight class. But Diaz wasn't done. He embraced the challenge of competing in both weight classes. His next welterweight encounter was against the former professional boxer Marcus Davis at UFC 118. The fight was a war, and Diaz emerged victorious, finishing Davis with a guillotine choke submission in the final round, earning Fight of the Night honors in the process. It was January 1st, 2011, at UFC 125 when Diaz faced off against South Korean fighter Dong Hyun Kim. The stakes were high and the action was relentless. In the end, Diaz had to accept a unanimous decision loss, a bitter pill to swallow. Next up was a clash with Rory MacDonald at UFC 129 in April 2011. Diaz struggled to find his rhythm, and MacDonald emerged victorious via unanimous decision. However, Diaz, a fighter with an unquenchable spirit, knew he had to make a change. He announced his return to the lightweight division. In September 2011, Diaz took on the former Pride lightweight champion, Takanori Gomi, at UFC 135. In a stunning display of his ground game, Diaz secured an armbar submission in the first round, earning him the coveted submission of the night honors. But the real fireworks were yet to come. At UFC 141, Diaz faced Donald Cerrone in a battle that would go down in history. Despite being knocked off his feet multiple times by Cerrone's leg kicks, Diaz delivered a masterclass, setting a CompuStrike record with an astonishing 82% strike accuracy. He won via unanimous decision in a fight that earned both participants the Fight of the Night honors. In 2012, Diaz reached a pivotal moment in his career as he received his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from Cesar Gracie. This honor came just a month before his fight with fellow BJJ black belt Jim Miller at UFC on Fox 3. Diaz dominated Miller with his striking, even dropping him with a straight left. Then, in a breathtaking turn of events, Diaz locked in a rolling guillotine choke, forcing Miller to tap in the second round and earning himself his 5th submission of the night bonus. December 8, 2012 marked a showdown with Benson Henderson at UFC on Fox 5, for the UFC lightweight championship. Although Diaz was a fierce contender, he succumbed to Henderson's dominance, losing via unanimous decision. Despite the defeat, Diaz inked an 8-fight contract with the UFC just weeks prior to the championship bout. In 2013, Diaz faced the former Strikeforce lightweight champion Josh Thompson at UFC on Fox 7. Unfortunately, the fight ended with Diaz receiving a TKO due to a head kick and punches. Notably, his brother, Nick Diaz, physically threw a towel into the octagon, signaling the referee to end the bout. Diaz's use of a homophobic slur on his Twitter page led to a 90-day suspension and a $20,000 fine from the UFC. A highly anticipated rubber match with Gray Maynard occurred on November 30th, 2013, at the Ultimate Fighter 18 finale. Diaz performed spectacularly, winning via TKO in the first round and earning his first knockout of the night bonus. In 2014, Diaz and fellow fighter TJ Grant were removed from the UFC's lightweight rankings due to inactivity. However, Nate Diaz was far from done. He returned to the octagon in December 2014 to face Rafael dos Anjos at UFC on Fox 13. Diaz faced a one-sided defeat, losing via unanimous decision despite his efforts. After more than a year away from the sport, Diaz made a comeback against Michael Johnson at UFC on Fox 17 in December 2015. He secured a victory via unanimous decision and in a fiery post-fight interview called out none other than Conor McGregor, igniting one of the most memorable moments in UFC history.
Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I work for, motherfucker. I'm gonna fight your fucking ass. You know what's the real fight, what's the real money fight is me.
Both Diaz and Johnson were rightfully awarded Fight of the Night honors. The year 2016 marked a pivotal moment for Diaz as he stepped in as a replacement to face the notorious Conor McGregor at UFC 196.
He caught him again with a right hook. And another left. And again with the combination. And Conor. Look out for the takedown. The guillotine. Diaz trying to finish with a submission. He got it.
With only 11 days' notice and no time to cut weight, the fight unfolded at welterweight. In a shocking turn of events, Diaz secured victory via submission in the second round, marking his 9th submission win in the UFC. Both fighters earned Fight of the Night honors, and Diaz also received the Performance of the Night bonus. A rematch with McGregor was set for UFC 200, but faced hurdles as McGregor was pulled from the event due to media obligations. The fight was eventually rescheduled and took place at UFC 202, once again at welterweight. Diaz fought valiantly, but McGregor emerged victorious via majority decision, with the contest earning yet another Fight of the Night honor. At the post-fight press conference of UFC 202, Diaz made headlines by violating USADA rules, smoking CBD through a vape pen within 4 hours after the fight. Although he wasn't sanctioned as CBD isn't considered a performance-enhancing drug, USADA later lifted the ban on CBD. Fast forward to 2018, after a 2-year hiatus, Diaz was slated to return against Dustin Poirier at UFC 230. However, Poirier withdrew due to injury, leading to the fight's cancellation. In 2019, Diaz made a triumphant comeback at UFC 241, facing Anthony Pettis in a welterweight showdown. He dominated the fight and secured a unanimous decision victory. The climax of Diaz's career took place on November 2nd, 2019, when he faced Jorge Masvidal at UFC 244. This unique bout was for a baddest motherfucker, BMF belt, as confirmed by UFC President Dana White. Despite facing adversity during the fight, Diaz lost via TKO between rounds 3 and 4 due to a cut over his right eye. In 2021, Diaz was scheduled to fight Leon Edwards at UFC 262, with their non-main event and non-title bout being scheduled for 5 rounds. However, the bout was moved to UFC 263 due to a minor injury sustained by Diaz. Edwards controlled most of the fight and won via unanimous decision, even though he was almost TKO by Nate. This was Leon Edwards, for crying out loud. In case you didn't know, Edwards is the reigning UFC welterweight champion. Diaz had been pulling his weight from way back. In 2022, Diaz faced Khamzat Chimaev, but found himself in a different bout against Tony Ferguson due to Chimaev missing the weight count. Diaz showcased his skill and tenacity, securing a guillotine choke submission victory in the 4th round. This win earned him his second performance of the night bonus. Notably, Diaz opted not to re-sign with the UFC after his bout with Ferguson, making him a free agent and leaving fans eagerly awaiting his next chapter in the world of MMA. As the ink dried on his UFC contract, Nate Diaz was ready to venture into the world of boxing, seeking new challenges beyond the octagon. The anticipation reached a fever pitch on April 12, 2023, as the news broke. Diaz was set to make his professional boxing debut against none other than the polarizing Jake Paul. The stage was set, and the boxing world held its breath as the August 5, 2023 countdown began. The American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas was the hallowed ground where this clash of titans would unfold. When the dust settled, the judge's verdict echoed through the arena. Paul emerged victorious via unanimous decision, scoring 98-91, 98-91, and 97-92. Nate had lost, but he showed the world what he was made of. As an added bonus, he made quite a lot of money that night. A whole lot, too. Nate Diaz's journey, from Stockton streets to UFC stardom, is marked by resilience and rebellion. Under the mentorship of his brother Nick, ventured into martial arts early, training with fighters like Jake Shields and Gilbert Melendez. Nate's fearless approach and unique Stockton slap made him stand out. Throughout his career, Nate had memorable moments, including winning the Ultimate Fighter and moving to the welterweight division. Despite setbacks like his losses, Nate always came back stronger. His historic bout against Conor McGregor and recent boxing debut against Jake Paul showcased his warrior spirit. Nate Diaz remains an icon, inspiring generations with his determination and defiance.